So, given that it's an intimate group, what I will do with you is I'll share with you some personal experiences that have shaped my thinking in the last few years, and from that we'll take it from there. So, I grew up in what is traditionally called labor Zionism, the left wing of Israeli politics. Certainly when I grew up in the 80s, I was a big believer in a two-state solution, in peace, very much opposing the settlement project. And I truly believe that the day that the Palestinians would have a state in the West Bank and Gaza is the day we would have peace. The 90s were a time of euphoria for me. I believed that peace was at hand, that we were getting there, and really there was a sense that it's going to happen. And then the last 15 years have been very difficult. They've been difficult not just for me, they've been very difficult for people like me who share my thinking. And the reason is that what characterized the last 15 years, the reason I speak about 15 years is I start counting from 2000. 2000 is when that was kind of the culmination of the 90s, the two sides going to negotiate peace at Camp David, and then it all came crashing down. And it started in 2000, but then there were other opportunities in 2006 and 8, recently in 14. And I remember thinking that I was left wondering, how is it that the Palestinians, when faced with a real opportunity to have a state, not perfect, not everything, but a state, dignity, liberty, freedom, they're unable to utter the word yes. And that got me questioning. And then what happened is after the breakdown of the talks, it descended into this bloody mayhem, which was called the Second Intifada, but it shares nothing with the first. You remember that time, I'm sure, buses being blown up in our streets, cafes, and these were in cities like Haifa and Tel Aviv and Beersheba, supposedly nothing controversial. And I remember thinking at that time, it was a very dark time in Israel. I literally remember feeling that if my car got stuck behind a bus, I would pray that the bus would not blow up, because then, that would be the end of me too. And it was a very dark time. There was nowhere safe. And I remember thinking at that time, I literally wanted to find a Palestinian person and kind of hold him by the shoulders and say, please tell me what you want. Tell me what you want, because if you want a state for yourself, I'm with you. I will fight with you shoulder to shoulder. But if more than you want a state for yourself, you cannot come to terms with the fact that the price of having that state is me having my own, that the Jewish people will have their own state, will have their right to self-determination in this land. If this is something that you cannot accept, then I will fight you. If you're asking me to choose between you and me, then I choose me. And I have no more qualms about choosing us. But the thing that really got me thinking during that time is that I was invited to meet young, moderate Palestinian leaders. I was a member of the Labour Party. I was considered a young Israeli moderate leader. And I was asked to meet, to go to these meetings. And in these meetings, I realized that my counterparts were moderate in the sense that they accepted reality. They said things like, we get it, you're here, you're powerful. Someone even told me, you were born here, so we will not send you away. And I remember thinking, thank you very much. And I realized, okay, they accept reality, they recognize reality. And then we would have these post-dinner conversations, and they would say things like, the Jewish people are not a people, you're only a religion. And let me share with you, I'm an atheist. Many Jews are atheists. Atheism has a strong and proud Jewish tradition. As Noah here likes to say, if you want to understand the Jewish relationship to faith, you need to understand that in Judaism you can believe in one God or less. So the people who built this country were atheists and were secular, and it's still a very strong strain in Jewish civilization and culture. And when people say the Jewish people are only religion, I find it a very offensive idea. It's something that is in the PLO charter and is very much in the Palestinian view, that the Jewish people are only a religion and their home is, Russia. But it excludes a huge share of the Jewish people. It excludes me, and I find it a very offensive notion. So they would say things like the Jewish people are not a people. You're only a religion. The religion is a subset of the people. If I am committed to anything, it is to my people, not to the religion. They would say, your whole connection to this land is made up. It's a fabricated story that you created in order to take our lands. And I'm thinking, the connection between the Jewish people and Israel, if there's anything better documented, more well known, it's not just about religious texts, it's about people who have maintained that connection for centuries. I'm sure some of you had a chance to participate in a Passover Seder over the years. I don't know if you remember what you say at the end of a Passover Seder. You say, next year in Jerusalem. Now, Jews said that for centuries, whether they lived in Poland or Morocco. The whole idea of Judaism as a religion was to preserve the connection to the land for the moment when the return to the land will be possible. I mean, if there's any land to which the Jewish people are connected, and also from where they're from, where they were shaped as a people, their culture, their civilization, their traditions, it is from here. So the notion that this is somehow fabricated for the sole purpose of taking Palestinian land, again, was something that I found deeply offensive. And the outcome was, of course, therefore, you have no rights here, you have no right to be here. You're here, you did it by force, and we recognize it, but it's nothing real. And I remember going back from those meetings deeply troubled and thinking, these are the moderates. So if these are the moderates, then the conflict between us is about far more than I was led to believe, that it is about stopping settlement building or ending the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. I thought, there's no symmetry here. I'm considered a moderate leader in the sense that I recognize the right of the Arab people between the Jordan and the Mediterranean to self-determination in this land. I recognize their right for a state. They recognize the connection to the land. I recognize that, and this is why I support two states. I realize they do not recognize my right. They recognize my might, but what happens the day that I no longer have might? They're merely reinforcing the notion that I have to continue to have might to survive here because there's no acceptance that I am here by